Dear viewers, today's topic of discussion is general principles and clinical use of antimicrobial drugs. So, by antimicrobial agents, we loosely refer to them as antibiotics. So, antibiotics are not only the drugs that kill bacteria or inhibit the growth of bacteria, they include the drugs which are focused against the other microbes like antifungal agents, antiviral agents, antiprotozoal agents, and anthelminthic agents which are focused against the helminths. So antiviral agents are classified into different types. I will not go into the details, but you may know that we are regularly having chickenpox and herpes zoster, for which we use an antiviral known as acyclovir. Nowadays, we are having lots of patients suffering from HIV infection, that is human immunodeficiency virus infection. It causes AIDS. So we have now drugs to treat AIDS, which come under the antivirals. And then come the antiprotozoal agents, which we are regularly using ourselves also. Whenever we are having diarrhea or amoebiasis, we are using drugs like metronidazole or tinidazole. We are having malaria, and anti-malarials like quinine, chloroquine, and the newer Chinese drugs like artemisinin and artemether are available. We have leishmaniasis or Kala-Azar, for which we have antiprotozoal drugs. And helminthic agents also we are taking whenever we are having some worm infestation. We are taking drugs like Zental, which is albendazole. We have mebendazole, we have thiabendazole. These are the helminthic agents that are used, particularly in children. But our main topic of discussion will be the antibacterials and the antifungals. So antibiotics, they are classified into whole lot of antibiotics which are classified as beta-lactam antibiotics, because they will contain a beta-lactam moiety, a ring structure in their molecule. So the beta-lactam antibiotics start with the penicillins. Penicillin G was the first antibiotic that was discovered by Alexander Fleming. It was from a fungus, Penicillium notatum. After that, lots of antibiotics, they are natural antibiotics, they are obtained from different bacteria like actinomycetes and fungi. And they are, after that, semi-synthetic and synthetic antibiotics are also available, which have been the modification of the natural antibiotics. And some of the antibiotics are now synthesized purely in the laboratory. So penicillin start with penicillin G, then aminopenicillin, amidopenicillin, that is amoxicillin, aminopenicillin is ampicillin. Penicillin is resistant penicillin, because as soon as penicillin was discovered, the bacteria started producing enzyme to destroy the penicillin, which is known as penicillinase. So scientists now discovered penicillinase resistant penicillins like cloxacillin, oxacillin, and methicillin. Then to cover Pseudomonas, these penicillins do not cover organisms like Pseudomonas. So anti-pseudomonal penicillins were discovered. Next came the cephalosporins. They are produced by different bacteria. The first generation cephalosporins like cephalexin, cefazolin were followed by the second generation cephalosporins like cefuroxime. Third generation cephalosporins then came like cefotaxime, ceftazidime, ceftriaxone, cefoperazone. Then came the fourth generation cephalosporins, cefpyrom and cefepime. There are different other classes of cephalosporins like cefamycins, then monobactams like Astrionum, carbapenems. Group 2 carbapenems came first into the market. They were meropenem, imipenem, and doripenem, followed by the group 1 carbapenems, that is ertapenem. Group 2 carbapenems cover most of the organisms, most of the bacteria. Group 1 carbapenems do not cover Pseudomonas and Acinetobacter, that is the non-fermenting gram-negative bacilli, are not covered by group 1 carbapenems. Now, the other antibiotic classes that are available are the macrolides, the lincosamides, the glycopeptides, oxazolidinones, and streptogramins. All these mainly have gram-positive activity. The beta-lactams, they have both gram-positive and gram-negative activity. The penicillins and first-generation cephalosporins mainly have gram-positive activity. The second-generation cephalosporins have gram-positive as well as gram-negative activity. The third-generation cephalosporins and fourth-generation cephalosporins, they are broad spectrum. They cover most of the gram-negatives, the gram-positives, as well as Pseudomonas. Likewise, the carbapenems are the broadest spectrum antibiotics that are available. The macrolides, lincosamides, glycopeptides, oxazolidinones, and streptogramins mainly have gram-positive activity. So some of them may cover the anaerobes also. The beta-lactam antibiotics also have anaerobic coverage. And there is a special class of antibiotics because whenever the beta-lactams are given to the patients, after some time the bacteria will develop resistance to the beta-lactams by producing different enzymes, the beta-lactam hydrolyzing enzymes which are known as beta-lactamases. So scientists discovered beta-lactamase inhibitor, which will inhibit the beta-lactamases that are being produced by the bacteria. And these beta-lactamase inhibitors, until now, 3 are available. One is clavulanic acid, one is sulbactam, one is tazobactam, and one more is in the pipeline which will be available by the next year, that is avibactam. So these beta-lactamase inhibitors can be combined with the beta-lactams, and then they will have broad spectrum activity. The beta-lactamase inhibitor combinations include amoxicillin clavulanic acid, ampicillin sulbactam, piperacillin tazobactam, ticarcillin clavulanic acid, and cefoperazone sulbactam. So next, another class of antibiotics are the aminoglycosides. They are also broad spectrum. They include antibiotics like gentamicin, tobramycin, netilmicin, and amikacin. They are broad spectrum, but they do not cover the anaerobes very well. Then the tetracyclines like tetracycline, doxycycline, and tigecycline, minocycline. These also have broad spectrum coverage. They cover gram positives, gram negatives, but they do not cover the pseudomonas. Polymyxins have mainly gram negative coverage. They have no action against gram positives. Two polymyxins are available, polymyxin B and polymyxin E, which is also known as colistin. So nowadays we are having lots of carbapenem resistant bacteria, carbapenem resistant pseudomonas, acinetobacter, klebsiella, and E. coli, where the bacteria are sensitive only to the polymyxins. So polymyxins are an old class of antibiotics which have now again come into the therapeutic arena. They have entered the therapeutic arena to treat these patients with multi-drug resistant organisms. Then the fluoroquinolones, nalidixic acid, norfloxacin. Norfloxacin is mostly taken for urinary tract infection and also for diarrhea. Ciprofloxacin, levofloxacin, gatifloxacin, moxifloxacin, all these are the development of the fluoroquinolones. Then there are other antibiotics like metronidazole, chloramphenicol, cotrimoxazole, sulfonamides, and nitrofurantoin. So what are the mechanisms of action of these antibiotics? Some of the antibiotics alter the cell membrane permeability, like polymyxins particularly. Then there are a group of antibiotics which inhibit the cell wall synthesis in the bacteria. They include all the beta-lactams and the glycopeptides like vancomycin and teicoplanin. Then there are antibiotics which inhibit bacterial metabolism. They include the sulfonamides and trimethoprim. Then there are antibiotics which inhibit the protein synthesis in the bacteria like the tetracyclines, aminoglycosides, macrolides, clindamycin, and chloramphenicol. And last of all, there are antibiotics which inhibit the nucleic acid synthesis or nucleic acid function in the bacteria, DNA or RNA function in the bacteria, particularly DNA function, like the fluoroquinolones and rifampicin. So there are two types of antibiotics. One class of antibiotic are the bacteriostatic agents, which inhibit the bacterial multiplication without killing the bacterial cells. They include tetracycline, sulfonamides, trimethoprim, spectinomycin, chloramphenicol, macrolides, lincosamides, and oxazolidinones, which is available as linezolid. Then there are the bactericidal drugs which actually kill the bacteria, like glycopeptides, beta-lactams, monobactams, carbapenems, aminoglycosides, metronidazole, fluoroquinolones, and the polymyxins. There are antibiotic combinations that are available. Cotrimoxazole is a combination of trimethoprim and sulfamethoxazole, which is a sulfonamide. Sinacid is a combination of quinpristin and dalfopristin, both of which are streptogramins. These are not yet available in India, these streptogramins. Beta-lactam is inhibitor combinations which I have already covered, like amoxicillin, clavulanic acid. Then come the anti-tubercular drugs. So anti-tubercular drugs are classified as the first line essential drugs, which include rifampicin, isoniazid, and pyrazinamide. Then first line supplemental agents, they include ethambutol, streptomycin, rifabutin, fluoroquinolones like ciprofloxacin and levofloxacin. The second line drugs like PAS, para-amino-salicylic acid, ethionamide, cycloserine, amikacin, and capreomycin. And the newer antitubercular drugs include rifampicin and the macrolides like azithromycin and clarithromycin, and the 8-methoxyfluoroquinolones like gatifloxacin and moxifloxacin. These newer drugs and the second line drugs are used for the drug resistant tuberculosis, which are resistant to the first line antibiotics. Now, what do we mean by combination chemotherapy? Combination chemotherapy means treatment by chemicals. In this case, treatment by antibiotics, or say chemicals like anti-cancer drugs. These can be combined. When two or more drugs are combined or used together for beneficial effect, we call it combination chemotherapy. What are the indications of combination chemotherapy? Firstly, they prevent the emergence of resistant mutants like Pseudomonas. For Pseudomonas, we usually use two drugs because Pseudomonas develops resistance to the antibiotics very fast. Then anti-tubercular drugs, we use a 4-drug regime, INH, rifampicin, pyrazinamide, and ethambutol for 2 months, followed by 2 drugs, that is INH and rifampicin, for 2 more months. So that is mainly due to prevent the resistance emergence of mutant strains in the Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Then antiretroviral drugs, which are directed against HIV for treatment of AIDS patients. Then for synergistic or additive activity, that is lowering of the minimum inhibitory concentration or minimum bactericidal concentration of each or all the drugs in combination against a specific organism. Then synergy, what is synergy? Each agent, that is antibiotic, is more active when used in combination than when used alone. The drug's combined activity will be greater than the sum of individual activities of the each drug when it is used alone. For example, beta-lactam and aminoglycoside combination against Enterococcus, then Pseudomonas aeruginosa also we use synergistic combination of drugs. Then a very good synergistic combination is colistin with a carbapenem like meropenem or imipenem to treat a carbapenem resistant bug. Although we call it a carbapenem resistant bug, it will be resistant to carbapenem, but due to the addition of colistin, the MIC of carbapenem will go down and the carbapenem will come to the sensitive range. Then additive activity, the combined activity of the drugs will be equal to the sum of their individual activities. For example, cotrimoxazole when used against certain bacteria. Other activities include indifferent activity when the combination is no better than more active of the two agents alone. Most of the antibiotics show indifferent activity. Therefore, for most of the bacterial infections, we go for monotherapy. That is, we use only one antibiotic. Antagonistic activity, the combination is worse than either of the drug alone. For example, penicillin and tetracycline against pneumococci. So we should not use penicillin along with tetracycline to treat streptococcal pneumonia infections. And when we combination chemotherapy, another indication is that when we get, it is a therapy against multiple pathogens. When polymicrobial infection occurs in a patient, or documented or suspected in a patient, in the latter case, we use the antibiotics empirically. That is, we use a particular combination of antibiotics, say a combination of gram-positive as well as gram-negative coverage antibiotics. Sometimes we also include an antifungal in the regime. So after that, we send the cultures to the laboratory, and when the culture report comes back, we usually de-escalate. That is, we take off one of the agents. Say only gram-negative organism has grown, so we take off the gram-positive coverage and the antifungal coverage. So these are indicated, combination chemotherapy is also indicated in sepsis, that is septic shock. Then in case of intra-abdominal abscesses or brain abscesses, fevers in patients who have neutropenia, that is low neutrophil count, aspiration pneumonia, patients who are debilitated, they often aspirate the oropharyngeal secretions into the lungs, and they may develop pneumonia due to the oropharyngeal flora entering the lungs. Infection of the limbs in diabetic patients, infections in immunocompromised patients, that is the patients with impaired immunity. Now coming to the antifungal agents, which we have the natural antifungal agents, that is Pauline or amphotericin B. and nystatin, natamycin. Amphotericin B is available as a systemic formulation, that is, it can be given as an injection form to the patient. Nystatin and natamycin, they are available only as topical agents, that is, they can be applied on the skin or the mucous membrane, say conjunctiva, eye, etc. Then non-polyene antibiotic griseofulvin, which is used in an oral form. It is available in an oral form. Then synthetic includes the flucytosine, then the azoles. Azoles are most commonly used in the therapy as an antifungal agent. So they include the imidazoles and the triazoles. In triazoles, we have fluconazole, which is most commonly used in therapy. Then the other topical agents and other oral agents. And lastly came the echinocandins. This echinocandin is the only new class of antimicrobial agent that has been introduced over the last 2 decades. No other new antibiotic has come into the market. Actually, what new antibiotics are claimed by the pharmaceutical companies, they are actually modifications of the older molecules, not new antibiotics as such. These echinocandins, which include caspofungin, micafungin, and anidulafungin, are the only new class of antifungals that has come in. Coming to the pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics. What is pharmacodynamics? Pharmacodynamics is what the drug does to the body. So it is the study of the biological and therapeutic effects of the drugs. So we take an antibiotic, it kills the bacteria, that comes under PD, that is pharmacodynamics. Pharmacokinetics is what the body does to the drug. It is the study of absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion of the drugs and their relationship to the pharmacological response. So there are different terms that we will use here, like Tmax, Cmax, etc., which I will discuss shortly. So what is half-life? Half-life, as you know about the radioisotopes, the isotopes, they have half-life, the radioisotopes. Just like that, antibiotics also have half-life. It is the time taken by the drug to get reduced to half its original concentration. It takes roughly around 4 half-lives for a drug to be totally excreted from the body. But what the physicians, the doctors want is a steady state inside the body. When we add every dose, a particular amount of drug will be eliminated from the body. So the concentration should be such that always a steady state is maintained. Amount of drug absorbed is equal to the amount eliminated, so that the total concentration of drug remains constant. And these are the different terminologies that I was telling you. That is what is Cmax, that is the maximum concentration of the drug that is achieved, or antibiotic that is achieved in the body fluid or blood or plasma after giving a shot of the antibiotic. If it is given as an injection, the Cmax is achieved earlier. If it is given as an oral form, the Cmax will be achieved slightly later. And time over MIC, for which the antibiotic concentration remains above the MIC. That is the benefit of reporting the MIC. For the maximum period of time during the antimicrobial therapy, the antibiotic concentration in the serum should remain at least 2 to 4 times the MIC, at least at that level. So there is also one effect known as post-antibiotic effect, which is available for certain drugs like carbapenems, where the effect is retained for a longer period of time, even when the concentration goes below the MIC or the MBC. There is another thing, that is the area under the curve. Area under the curve is the product of the Cmax, that is concentration, and the time. It is expressed as concentration, that is microgram per milliliter, into hour, the time. So there are certain antibiotics which are dependent on the concentration. They are known as concentration dependent antibiotics, like aminoglycosides and fluoroquinolones. There are antibiotics which are dependent on time, like the beta-lactams, macrolides. There are antibiotics which depend on both. So that includes fluoroquinolones, daptomycin, azithromycin, and linezolid. So for time dependent antibiotics, we have to give frequent doses of the antibiotics, or we have to give a prolonged infusion. Say we have to give the antibiotics for 3 to 4 times daily. We have to repeat the dose. But for concentration dependent antibiotics, we give a single shot of very high dose of the antibiotic. Say for amikacin, we give only 1 dose per day, or we can repeat it twice, say twice a day. And coming to the adverse reactions or the side effects of the antibiotics, all drugs have side effects. So the most commonly encountered side effects are the gastrointestinal side effects like nausea or vomiting, diarrhea, etc., and the skin rashes. And some of the drugs are related with very toxic side effects like nephrotoxicity, ototoxicity, hepatotoxicity. So that should be remembered when the physicians give the drugs. So the rest of the lecture I will continue in the next lecture. So let me end today here. Thank you.